It's time for Baby and Toddler Instructions with host Blythe Lipman. Blythe is a nationally renowned infant and toddler expert who has over 30 years' experience helping moms and dads regain their sanity, teaching them how to survive, and giving them the confidence they need to be the best parents ever. From sleeping to crying to potty training to choosing a preschool and so much more. If you're a parent, Baby and Toddler Instructions is the show you've been looking for. Now here's your host, Blythe Lipman.
Well, good morning and welcome to the show. How is everybody? I'm so happy you could tune in this morning or today if you're listening to a podcast. I am very excited about my guest, as I always am. Author Dr. Kevin Hall is going to be with us in just a bit, and it's going to be an eye-opening hour as Dr. Kevin shares his expertise with parents all about autism, Asperger's, what you can do as a parent. My gosh, he wrote a terrific book called Bridge Building, and I can't wait to talk to him because it's something else and so important. I trust you're all over your Valentine's Day chocolate comas. I took some of my chocolate and I'm hiding it from myself so I can still enjoy it all the time. You know, I find if I give myself permission to eat one piece of chocolate a day, it gives me something to look forward to. So try it. You know what? I love chocolate. Anyway, it's like the old saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, a chocolate a day keeps Blythe okay. Okay, I'm getting too silly. Anyway, I love dark chocolate, and it's good for our heart, too. So, on that note, let's see what we have. First, the weather report from Arizona. I have to do it every week. Oh, the weather's so nice here this week. We actually have broken some records. I haven't put the top up on my car in a couple of days, and okay, I'm bragging. You can throw something at the computer. Everybody with snow. I know you had snow again back east, I think yesterday. But you know what? You can razz me in the summer and call me during the show when we have 115-degree weather. But I do want to send some heavy snow melting energy to those of you that are still in the throes of winter. And guess what? Only 28 more days until March 20th. It's the first day of spring. Yay! Then maybe I'll complain. I don't know. Recalls. There weren't any recalls that were pertinent to baby toddlers. Some household things. So if you go to cpsc.gov, you will be able to see all the recalls. And also babyinstructions.com. On the recall page, I always put up-to-date recalls that have to do with families. So what else? Well, you know, each week I share some tips from one of my books, either from Help, My Baby Came Without Instructions, or Help, My Toddler Came Without Instructions. You know, today I want to do something different. I want to share The Toddler's Creed by Dr. Burton L. White. Because while toddlers have a mind of their own, I want us all to remember that each child is unique and a one-of-a-kind miracle, no matter who they are, whether they're black, they're white, they're tall, they're thin, they're special needs, they're autistic. You know, just miracles. And toddlerhood is about coming into your own. So no matter what, age your child is or what they look like, they still want to come into their own. So the Toddler's Creed says, and it's at the beginning of Help, My Toddler Came Without Instructions. If I want it, it's mine. If I give it to you and change my mind later, it's mine. If I can take it away from you, it's mine. If it's mine, it will never belong to anybody else, no matter what. If we're building something together, all the pieces are mine. If it looks just like mine, it's mine. If it breaks or needs putting away, it's yours. So I thought I'd share that today. I love that little creed. And there was an article in the paper that was so important. It was how play is important for children and not alone play. It was entitled, Parents Learn to Raise Tots in a Selfie World. You know, they talk a lot about all of us taking selfies. If you don't know what a selfie is, it's taking a picture of yourself from your iPhone or your smartphone and posting it. Well, now children are taking selfies. And it says that while the barrage of images may keep distant grandparents happy, it's not clear how such a steady diet of self-affirming navel-gazing will affect members of the first truly smartphone generation. Tot-centric snapshots can help build healthy self-image and boost childhood memories when handled correctly, but shooting too many photos or videos and playing them back instantly for a demanding toddler could backfire, says Deborah Best, a professor of cognitive developmental psychology at Wake Forest University. She said the instant gratification, it's not always so good. And I'm not going to read you the whole article, but I have to say it's important to teach patience, as we all know. Patience is a virtue, and I think it's nice to take pictures, and I know even today, my grown children and I love looking at the baby pictures and trying to remember where we were and what we did, during that time. But I think in this technological world with all the devices, to give a toddler the phone and teach them immediate gratification. One father in the article said, yes, they take pictures, yes, they take videos, but he makes them wait till after dinner or till the next day to look at them. Because, our world is not about immediate gratification. When we go to a store, we don't get waited on right away. When we make a meal, we have to wait for it to cook. So I don't know how good these selfies are, but you decide. And if you want to weigh in, you can call us at 877-864-4869. Also, there was another article I wanted to share with you. It's called Complex Sentences Aid Babies' Vocabulary. This is pretty interesting. It said that the sooner you start explaining the world to your baby, the better. That doesn't mean flashcards for tots. It's just pointing out, here's an orange, that's a bowl. And they did some research that showed that both how much and how well parents talk with babies and toddlers helps tune the youngsters' brains in ways that builds crucial language and vocabulary skills. And a key to fighting the infamous word gap that puts poor children at a disadvantage at an even younger age. They did this study because what they're saying is some of the disadvantaged kids, the parents don't talk to them all the time. And in other families, it says you're building intelligence through language. And the advice that this study gave is to have conversations with your children. Children hear all this talk and they don't understand it, but this article says you should have intelligent conversations even with your babies and not, oh, look how cute. But I don't know, as a woman, when we see little babies and we talk and the baby talk and, let's see you smile. And I think that's just something that we do. We won't see men do that so much. But the gist of the article was that you should say, here is an orange. This is a piece of fruit. I'm going to put this in the fruit bowl. And they're finding that the more you talk to a child in complete sentences, even when they're toddlers or even when they're little babies, that it's helping them with their language skills when they do go to school. So, you have to do what's comfortable. And if you listen to Paying It Forward, the show before mine, on Togi, they talked about listen to your gut. And I tell parents that all the time. Trust your gut. Sometimes too much talk is overstimulating to a baby. Sometimes it's okay to just do the little one or two words. You all know your children, but I thought that was a pretty interesting article, just some more food for thought. So that's what I have today on my sharing of articles. But I want to tell you a little bit about bridge building. Two little words, but so powerful. My guest today is Dr. Kevin Hall, PhD, and he is the author of the book called Bridge Building. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He's a licensed counselor in the state of Florida. Born in New York, Rochester, moved to Florida with his parents, who began working for Children's Bible Mission in Lakeland when Kevin was 9. Let's see what else. His parents worked as directors of the Ministries, a homeless shelter in Lakeland that offered spiritually based rehab and teaches life skills to homeless men and women. And he watched his parents serve all these others and became so interested in finding a career that could help others and make a difference. Kevin worked for several years in community mental health around Lakeland with families, and in 2000, after becoming licensed, began working with children, adolescents, families, couples, and individual adults in the private practice arena. He owns Hall and Associates and specializes in trauma work with children and adolescents, as well as working with them concerning Asperger's syndrome and functioning autism. He's also an adjunct professor at Webster University's Master of Counseling campus for 8 years and teaches for Liberty University's online master program. Well, Kevin, wow, you do so much. Thanks so much for being on the program.
Well, it's an honor to be with you, Blythe. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Your work is amazing, and I have to tell you, I was going to say this for the end of the show, but I can't because I'm dying to tell you this. You know, I read through your book before when you sent it to me, and thank you for that. But I was looking at it again. I always like to look at things before I have my guests on, and I have to say, the last chapter of this book, The Letter from Johnny, I was actually sitting in my kitchen with the tears streaming down my face because we're going to get into all of this with you, with the Asperger's and the autism and everything else, which you're the expert. But, you know, it just really touched a place in my heart because every child, every young adult, you know, all of us are so different. And when we don't know how to deal with differences, it makes it tough on everybody. And, you know, I'll tell you a little bit, my listeners, this letter is from Johnny, and he's autistic, I believe, and he's writing a letter to his parents, and he's telling them, you know, how they should look at him and how they should deal with him. And it's the same thing for everybody, which is why I read the Toddler's Creed this morning, because a toddler thinks everything is theirs. And parents, of course, have to sit down with a toddler and figure out how to deal with the mind or do it self. You know, you'll hear a toddler say self. They don't want you to help them do anything. And every part of childhood and every new stage they go through, we have to stop for a minute and figure out how to deal with them. So this is no different. You know, somebody with autism or on the autism spectrum or with Asperger's, their parents were all parents, and you know what? We all have to figure it out. And thank goodness you're here with your wonderful, great book called Bridge Building with some activities and some help to give parents the support they need. So when we come back from the commercial, we are going to get right into this because you have so much to share, and I'm very excited that you're on the show this morning. So we're going to break in just a bit. I think, 15 seconds. We're going to have a break. Thank you. Casey's the great producer on TogiNet. Yay, Casey. He helps with everything. Thank you, Casey. He lets me know when we're going to break. So we will be back in just a few minutes, and we're going to talk to Dr. Kevin Hall, the author of Bridge Building. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these. Be sure to register your copy of Sam at www.spatialaudio.com. You'll feel warm and squishy inside once you do. Mobile is the future, and the future is now. Listen in each week, Tuesdays 4 to 5 Central, to Brilliant Mobile Marketing with your host, Mobile Mary, as we simplify the hottest marketing channel, mobile marketing, and share secrets on how you can use mobile to be more brilliant, be more profitable, and have more fun in your industry. Join us each week to learn from brilliant business leaders on how to simply and easily capture a list of raving fans and turn them into loyal customers. This show will help business owners, authors, and speakers realize their own brilliance by tapping into the insights of fellow brilliant business leaders. We will also showcase brilliant tools, both traditional and digital, that will make you more brilliant in everything you do. Don't miss your date with Brilliant Mobile Marketing and your host, Mobile Mary, America's mobile marketing expert, as she shares her success strategies every Tuesday from 4 to 5 Central on the Rockstar Radio Network. Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I am here with my guest, Dr. Kevin Hall. Am I saying your last name right?
Yes, Hull. H-U-L-L, like a nut, as my father would say.
Dr. Kevin has written a terrific book called Bridge Building, and I gave some of your bio. Do you want to add anything to it before we talk about the book and, what it's about?
Well, the only thing I was going to add was the way that I started working with young people on the autism spectrum was back in 2001, and a family contacted me and had a son who was just diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which, for those who don't know, that's a form of high-functioning autism. And I told them that, I knew about it, but I didn't have any particular training, but I used play therapy, and if they would be willing to be patient, I would learn as much as I could, and so that's really how everything got started. And that young man now that I began working with in 2001 is almost finished with his degree in special education. And so it's a very neat story, and it just kind of led from one thing into another. But I have been very grateful for all the families and the young people that I'm able to work with. And this book, Bridge Building, was really born out of my desire to help parents move from just being managers into building deeper connection with their children. For those listeners out there who are raising special needs children, you know what it's like to just get through the day. A task as simple as getting a child dressed or feeding them lunch can be monumental. And so a lot of parents, without even realizing it, just get their kid, get them dressed, get them to school, or get them through an activity, and then the parents fall onto the couch exhausted. And I witnessed this as I worked with families with children on the autism spectrum. And so I thought, one of the things I'm passionate about is teaching them how to build stronger connections through play, through relationship. And so that's where the book came from.
Well, that's such a good story and so important because, we hear autism, and a number of years ago they talked about giving children vaccinations and the additives cause it and all kinds of things that go back and forth. Can we talk about in the beginning, you have a baby and, of course all parents compare, we all do, and you're not sure if there's something right, if there's something wrong, if they're reaching their milestones. I mean, how, are there checklists? How do you know? How many times do you run to the pediatrician and say, I'm so worried about my child? Because you are, but not every child is the same. They reach their milestones at different times, and it doesn't mean that they're autistic or there's something, different, and they're special needs child. How do you know?
Well, the first thing is to just keep up with the developmental checks, that a pediatrician will do, and through parent observation, noticing, does my child meet my gaze? Does my child follow my finger as I point? Those first 3 to 6 to 9 month intervals of time where those milestones should be reached, and then allowing for the pediatrician to do their every 6 months or once a year, every year and a half examinations to look for those type of milestones that they're being reached. But that's the hard part about it is, it can be murky because a child may not walk until they're 14 months old, but does that mean that there's a problem? Not necessarily. A child may not begin speaking until after a year. Does that mean there's a problem? Not necessarily, but those are things to pay attention to. So it's just a matter of the parent paying attention, having good pediatric care, and then, like you said earlier before I came on, trust your gut. I don't know how many times I smiled when you said that, because I don't know how many times when I'm working with a child, I'll always ask Mom, what do you think? What do you think's going on? Because mothers just seem to have that amazing intuition that something is just not right, or that, you know what, I think things are going to be okay. So, but that's what makes autism difficult, and that's why they use the term spectrum, because while the hallmark signs are language delays and the difficulties with making social connections, how that child will manifest those things is completely different from one child to the next.
You know, and when I was reading your book, what got me to thinking, you were talking about somebody named Devin and the routine and how, you know, he did things. It was mom saying how he did things over and over and over, and she, from morning till night, he did the same thing. But sometimes I think about toddlers that I've taken care of or been in this situation, and they'll become obsessed with things. Like they'll have one doll, and that's all they can have, or they'll like one thing on a video, and they have to watch it
Yes.
50,000 times. Or
Right.
my son didn't walk till he was 18 and a half months old, and I joke now, I carried him, and he figured, why the heck should I walk? My mother's carrying me. But
he was a genius, yeah.
Yeah, he was. But I was worried. I thought, is this kid normal? You know, is everything okay? So, you know, I love your tips and to check off those things and to deal with the pediatricians when it comes to that.
Right. And you're very right. I mean, kids on the spectrum will often have one particular toy or one particular interest, specified interests, they call them. But so do a lot of kids. You know, neurotypical children also have their favorite stuffed animal or that they can't live without, or their favorite video, and they go through stages. So, yeah, it is a challenge to, and the hope that I give parents is, if you suspect that, you know, because all parents do this, you get online, you look for symptoms. Oh my goodness, you know, my kid did this today. Does this mean there's something wrong? And, you know, and our information that's available on the internet is amazing, but it can also cause a lot of panic. But I tell parents who are in the process of figuring out, is my child on the autism spectrum, that it's a process, that you're not going to find one answer definitively, and it's going to take a group of experts over a period of time to arrive at the diagnosis or to find out what level of severity the child is at. So it's like getting your child through school. It's a process.
No, but it's all a process. I mean, I'm not diminishing this at all because it's really difficult, but patience is a virtue for all of us. And it's really tough because I will tell parents, you know, just looking for things online, if you ask 10 people, you're going to get 10 answers.
Right.
And you have to like pick Dr. Kevin Hall to help you or somebody that's an expert. And, you know, if you're going to ask 4 of your friends, and especially watch how other kids do things, it's so hard not to compare, but it doesn't mean, you know, there's something wrong. But also what I love about your message in your book, and we'll get into some of the playthings that you talk about, is that you have to be a parent and not just the caregiver, like just getting your kid dressed or just getting them through the day. You know what? They're your child. And I think that must be the tough part because it's exhausting.
Right. Well, and that's part of where bridge building came from too, is because I found parents were reading information that said kids on the autism spectrum don't connect socially, or they don't understand relationships the way a neurotypical person does. And so what the parent was assuming was that the kid couldn't connect or didn't want to connect. And that could not be further from the truth. Children, adolescents, and adults on the autism spectrum often crave relationship. They want to be around people, but they want to be around people that they understand and find safe. A big group of people will often make them feel uncomfortable, but it just simply isn't true that these young people don't want relationship. And so in my work with parents, that's one of the pieces that I always added in was, you know, for instance, I work with a lot of single moms, and with sons. And so a lot of boys on the autism spectrum love video games. Well, the moms would automatically say, I don't play video games. And I would say, well, I understand that. But you can at least sit down next to him and watch him play. You can read about the game. You can learn about the story of the game. You can find little nuances in the game that relate to your son. And that's really the thrust, is going deeper beyond the surface level of an activity and really connecting and putting the effort in.
Yeah, I have a question. I don't know if you have this answer. I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you think a child that's on the autism spectrum that likes video games, do you think, let me say this the right way, do you think that they're connecting with the game, or do you think it's like taking them away and they're doing an activity?
It's multi-layered. One level of it is it makes me feel safe, and that's something I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but it's a world that I can control. It's a world that I'm in charge of. So it's very safe. The other part is there's usually other pieces of the game that make it attractive, whether it's the colors, whether it's the sounds, whether it's the story sometimes. And there's no rhyme or reason to it.
And I guess there doesn't have to be a rhyme or reason, but I have to tell you, my son, who does walk, and he's not on the autism spectrum, but he got hooked into video games for years. And he'd be up 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd call the company and tell him to shut it down. I did all kinds of things.
Right.
And then, it's interesting because if you do look at the video games, sometimes they're actually fun. And if because we have this bad rap that it's not good to do video games all the time, and it isn't all the time. You know what, for moms out there, sit down and really, what you're saying, look at the video game and see if there's something you identify with, or just have fun with your child for an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is. But we're having fun, and we're going to break for commercial in just a bit. So hang in there. We will be right back.
We'll be right back with more help. For help, my baby came without instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Baby love, my baby love, I need you, oh, I need you.
Are you fascinated by the stories behind the stories? The people behind their masks? The truth about people's failures and redemptions? In both their business and personal lives? Then Off the Record Secrets of with host Judy Schreiner is for you. It's people's secrets that make them interesting, but very few folks are willing to reveal them unless they trust that their information will be treated with accuracy, fairness, and respect. People have been entrusting their secrets to longtime business journalist Judy Schreiner for the last 25 years, and now she's bringing her expertise and impressive contact list to Rockstar Radio Network. Tune in and call in as host Judy Schreiner talks to guests off the record as they reveal new secrets each Tuesday at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central. It's time to devote time to yourself and strap yourself in for a fun, down-to-earth, enthusiastic, compassionate, easy-to-understand discussion on the unlimited ways you can be all that you want to be. Join us for B Institute Radio with Christine McKee on TogiNet Radio. Each week, Christine will have lively and open discussions and interviews, share stories and case studies, and hear from experts on the topic of the week. Christine, a registered psychologist from Australia and published author of Be by Design, How I Be is Up to Me, hosts lively discussions and interviews every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Right here. Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to the show. I am here with my wonderful guest, Dr. Kevin B. Hall, PhD. He is the author of Bridge Building, a terrific book for parents that have children on the autism spectrum. And we're talking all about autism, and I guess we'll put Asperger's in there. And, I have a question. Is there an average age that a child is diagnosed as being special needs, having autism or Asperger's or any of those things?
Well, the number one thing to remember is, like a lot of things, the earlier that it's detected, the better. There's more interventions that can be done, and the good news is that the ability to detect autism and test for it has really improved over the last 5 to 10 years. And so children are able to be diagnosed between 1.5 and 3. And when that happens, there can be speech therapy, there can be behavioral therapy, there can be the hand-eye coordination improvements. All of those things can be put into place and also help the parents, rather than thinking, oh my gosh, feeling overwhelmed and all is lost and I'm never going to have a normal kid. Those people that provide those services can really give them hope and encouragement.
Also, how do you, as a parent, how do you not have the guilt? I mean, there was one part in your book where a parent talked about hitting her 3-month-old's head on the bathtub by mistake and, blaming yourself. And how do you not have the guilt? Because that's tough, especially for women.
Well, mothers, yes. Mothers have to grieve that. They have to go through that acceptance process of, there's no way that I could have caused this. This is something that was in the genetic code. I didn't make this happen. And so, but you're right. Usually, just the way the mother-child bond is and the way mothers are wired, they often go through blaming themselves, regardless of what the problem is or what the challenge is. And that's something I always have to address in my work, because one of the biggest roles I play in my work is not only helping the child, but also giving encouragement and hope for the parents. And that's a key ingredient.
Well, and you know what? Having the support and encouragement from you is wonderful, because our families can give us the support, and that's also wonderful. But when somebody that is a professional says, hey, it's okay, you didn't do this, you know what, let's move on and let's see how we can all feel better. It's just, you're so great. I'm so excited you're on the show. So let's talk about play.
Okay.
Let's talk about what parents can do.
Well, I was excited when you and I met, and I read through your work and your website that you have and your radio show, and one of the great joys that I've experienced as a parent myself is, you bring that little baby home from the hospital, and it's like you get to start from zero. You get a chance to interact with this being, and you get to, from day one, lay a foundation for this child. And while that can be overwhelming too, it's a miracle. And that's where play comes in, because studies have shown, and if you just simply do a Google search about the neurological benefits of play, you will find that part of a key ingredient of the brain's development is play. And of course, a baby is going to play different than a toddler, but play nonetheless. And that's where parents' understanding of their role in play is very important. A child learns to solve problems through play. They learn to understand their environment through play. They understand themselves through play. And so, from a brain perspective, the more time that a child spends in play, the more their brain and body will be at rest. And what I mean by that is, children all of us as human beings, we have the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight response when we feel nervous or angered or frustrated. Our body goes into fight or flight because it detects that there's a threat. The more time that a child spends in play, the less time their brain is in that sympathetic arousal. And so the more time that a child is with a parent in the process of play, two things are happening. Not only is the child's brain with more energy to learn and grow, but it's also realizing my parent is here with me, and they're forming a deep connective bond through the play experience. So even if I have a 1-year-old who really can't do a whole lot, but I can roll a ball back and forth to that child. And, you'll do this with kids and they'll giggle. And even though it seems just simple that this is rolling a ball back and forth, that child is connecting the parent with the activity, and it's safe. And then the child is watching how the ball rolls, how my hand works, how my hand feels when I touch the ball. There's a multi-dimensional process going on. Then as the child gets older, when the parent spends time each day, a specific, not that there's, every day is different, so you can't do the same amount of time every day, but I usually tell parents shoot for between 15 to 30 minutes of uninterrupted one-on-one play with each child. But then the child comes to expect that time. And what's happening there is as the child goes from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, a deep level of trust is being built through play. Because even a simple activity like throwing a ball back and forth, I have to trust that person to throw the ball back to me. I have to trust that the person isn't going to break what we're playing with. And so that's where play really forms a foundation for later on in that child's life when they hit the adolescent years, that a foundation is already built.
So let me ask you a question, because that is so true. Play is important. I mean, even when you have a baby in a high chair and they'll throw something on the floor and then they throw it again and then they throw it again, they're playing because it's cause and effect. Mom picks it up or mom doesn't pick it up, or dad.
Right.
But before the break, we were talking about video games and how, moms should sit there, and even if they don't like the game. So I think, if I'm understanding right, even with a child that has autism and they are into the video games, the bond is being formed because mom is just sitting there. Maybe she's not playing the game, but she's sitting next to the child. Is that how it works?
Absolutely. The power of presence. And see, we don't talk about that very much in our culture because our culture really values the bright lights and the big noises and the trips to Disney and things like that. And a fundamental component of human interaction is just your presence. I'm often asked when someone has suffered a loss or, they have to go to a funeral, well, what do I say? Well, you don't have to say anything, just be. But we're not taught that, and it's not emphasized in our culture very much. But the power of a parent's presence, and for those parents out there listening right now, I'll give you a little experiment, and you can try this. When you're home this evening with your child, with your family, with I don't know how many children you might have, but just plunk on the floor in the living room and just sit there and watch what happens. Your children will all of a sudden perk up. They'll notice you sitting there, and they'll come around, and they'll drag a few toys over, and then next thing you know, you're playing with them, and all you did was make yourself available. And we forget that in our busy, busy days. We've got the computer open, we've got our iPad open, we're checking our phones, we've got the TV on in the background, and we forget that all that says to our children is we are unavailable. And so the balanced approach is letting our child know, especially for those single parents out there, yes, I have to pay bills right now. Yes, I have to cook dinner. But when that timer goes off or the alarm on my phone goes off at 6 p.m., I'm yours for 30 minutes or an hour, however long you want to make it. And the child will look forward to that because it's the most, there isn't a kid in America under age 12 that would rather do anything else other than be with their parent. It is a natural yearning. It is a natural biological drive to want to be with your parent if the parent makes themselves available.
You know, I'd want to jump up and down and clap because I use this saying all the time, the best present you can give your child is your presence. And it is just so true. I mean, you know, and in our world of with the bright lights and the Disney worlds and all the everything else, 30 minutes, if you take that 30 minutes and you stop after the 30 minutes that you've taken with your child, everybody feels so much better because they grow, I have to say, they grow up so fast. And, you know, I am talking a lot today about paying it forward because Sandra Beck was on the show with Josephine, which is the show before mine, and she said something that is so powerful. It's just 5 little words. What can I do today? And she talked about how she always put in time for herself and time for her boys. And, you know, write it in. We write everything else into our smartphones, our planners, and whatever we have. Right. Write it in until you get into a habit, whether you have a child that's special needs, you have a child that's a baby, or, you know, even 11-year-old child. Sit down with them, bake with them, do something. It's so important. And I'm so happy you're talking about this.
The other part of play that's powerful is that it regulates the brain. It's like hitting a reset button. You know, a child might be frustrated or might be upset about something. When the parent joins the child in play, there's a healing component there. There's a message that's sent to the child that things are okay again, that I'm all right with you, you're all right with me. Let's enjoy our time together. And it's a powerful way for the brain to regulate and move the child from fear and worry over to a sense of safety and self-confidence.
And, you know, that's number one. And, you know, I'm not going to be okay if we don't break for a commercial. So the tunes are coming, and when we come back, we'll talk more to Dr. Kevin Hall and his book, Bridge Building.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these. Get ready for Wise Up Radio, leveraging your learning, leadership, and legacy with Donna Kimbrand, the Edgy Evolutionary, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, here on the Rockstar Radio Network. If you're an entrepreneurial leader or visionary, stay ahead of your game with insights, tools, and strategies that give you the thought leader's edge. Each week, join Donna and her guests as she'll ask the edgy questions, help you discover game-changing shortcuts to better thinking and learning, how to explore the ripple effects of leadership excellence, and how to create your life as a living legacy, where the legacy you leave is the life you live. As thought leaders, you need strategies to help you enjoy the confidence and thrill of riding the wave of rapid change. For more on Donna, check out her website, GameChangerThinking.com. Then join the conversation and sharpen up your wits on Wise Up Radio with Donna Kimbrand, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, here on the Rockstar Radio Network. Join us for Healing with the Marika Method. This is an amazingly informative show to help heal people as well as their horses, dogs, and cats. This show inspires and empowers people to take charge of their own health and their animals' health using the power of diet, nutrition, natural medicines, and lifestyle to heal a variety of health problems. Learn how food impacts all physical and emotional health conditions and how diet and natural medicines are used to heal the body, mind, and spirit. Marika is a health and nutrition specialist, homeopathic practitioner, a gifted medical intuitive and healer, and an author and educator with over 2 decades of experience in clinical practice for people and their pets. Join our host, Marika Vandewater, every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back. I cannot believe we're up to the last quarter of the show. This goes so quickly. Every week I say it, and, I have to have my guests back more than once because I just love talking to them. We are here talking to Dr. Kevin B. Hall, the author of Bridge Building, Helping Parents with Children and Adolescents in the Autism Spectrum. So, Kevin, can you tell my listeners, how do parents who have children with special needs not just be in the manager role? How do they enjoy them and not just manage them? I think this is such a big thing.
Yes. Well, one metaphor that I like to use is that of an explorer or a adventurer going to a new land with new creatures, with a new environment. And all of us as parents would be better off if we adopted this attitude, regardless of what stage our kids are at, whether it's toddlerhood or going into adolescence, but that I adopt this Indiana Jones type outlook where I'm an investigator, I am an explorer, and I'm watching my child. What makes my child tick? Why do they do what they do? Look what gets them frustrated. Look what gave them joy. I wonder what they're thinking. I wonder what they're up to. I wonder why they keep doing that same behavior over and over again. And so that type of mindset helps you go deeper and helps you go beyond just what's on the surface to really examining your child and being a keen observer of their behavior. And the other thing that helps to do is it puts some distance between you, the parent, who, especially moms, always have that trigger to fix things for their child or to help them along. Of course, we all want to help them along. But for parents of kids on the autism spectrum or other children who have special needs, there's a strong urge for the parent to want to make the path as easy as possible for them. And so by being an observer, it helps the parent gain some distance and step back a little bit and just really get to know what makes my child tick. And so that's really the first step in figuring out who my child is and how can I best connect with them. Personality, the word personality is thrown around a lot, and obviously you're not going to go give your kid a personality test at 5 years old, but I tell parents, think about what is my child's personality? What are their quirks? What makes them go? What makes them really happy? What's their overall mood? Things like that. And then, when you enter into the play realm, because remember, the thing that we want to do is to move the parent from the manager role into relationship and connection. That makes it easier for the parent to shed that, I'm not on duty right now. I can just sit here with my son, with my daughter, and just roll this ball back and forth. Or just sit here while he plays this game, and I'm just going to watch. And I'm going to pretend that this moment in time is the most important moment of my life. I don't have a phone. I don't have a computer. I don't have any other thing on my mind than this moment right here.
That's so important because you can't get it back. We can't get our moments back. And
no.
Many times we'll say, I wish I had done that. And you know what? We all do it because we're all really busy. But It's so important. Are there a lot of support groups for the parents that, just they're in the manager role and they really need to talk to somebody that understands?
Well, it depends on the area in which they live. There are, what I encourage parents to do who are out there who are wondering, is there a support group in my community, is just to either do a Google search or contact some of the mental health professionals in their area and just inquire. I know here in Lakeland we have an amazing support group, and it's just an informal network of parents who wanted to get together, and they've met for more than 10 years now.
Wow.
And,
Great.
this parent learns a little bit about this and shares it with this parent, and this parent shares that and something else. And, and the power of the human experience of knowing someone out there is going through what I'm going through, it just helps you feel more confident and you have the energy to keep going.
It's so important. And, there's nothing wrong with starting your own. We're lucky enough to be able to go online and, maybe find a support group online, but also to go online and ask if anybody wants to start one with you. We now have the meetups and everything else. There's so many venues that you can go to get the help with. Also, I want to ask you this. What about a parent with a child that acts out in public? What do you tell them? A lot of parents won't take their kids in public because they're afraid they're going to do something that's not socially acceptable. I mean, who cares?
Right.
That's what I say, but what do you tell parents?
Well, I we have a role as parents to teach our children socially acceptable behavior, but especially for parents of kids with special needs, some days it's going to work and some days it's not going to work. And so at the parent support group here in town, in Lakeland, one of the things that I learned was some of the moms would have little cards already made up. And for instance, one mom, she was in the grocery store and her son was frustrated because it was taking too long, and he was ready to go, and he started tantruming a little bit and making noises and banging on the shopping cart. And she got a disapproving look from the lady behind her. And so she handed her one of these cards, and on the cards it says, "My son has autism. Autism is a neurodevelopmental condition in which he doesn't understand things like a regular neurotypical person does. When he feels frustrated, he makes sounds. Please be patient with us." And I thought that was genius because, here's this single mom, because I find a lot of parents who, like you said, they'll hide away. Oh, we'll just never go to a restaurant again, or I'll just never take my son with me if I have to go out in public. Well, that's not doing your child any good, because research has shown the more that these children are out in public, the more they observe neurotypical behavior, it has an impact on them learning how to act. And so, but I thought that was a genius way.
I'm sitting here with the chills thinking that's brilliant. That's so brilliant because
Yes.
Even if your child isn't special needs, look on airplanes, how many dirty looks somebody gives you. They're children. I don't care what they do, who they are. They're children. They're learning. We're teaching them. We're parents. And I think that's brilliant.
Right.
Really brilliant. Talk a little bit, because I don't want this hour to go by. Just briefly, talk about the letter from Johnny. I thought that was so interesting.
Well, my first book that I wrote was Play Therapy and Asperger's Syndrome, and I was doing some research, and I came across this gentleman who is in New Zealand. His name is John Greeley, and he was diagnosed with Asperger's later in life. So he spent his whole childhood feeling odd and out of place, and then when he became an adult was when he was diagnosed. And his mission and purpose in life is to help parents and help young people through the process of development. And so I came across his website, and he had that letter on there, and he gave me permission to use it. And I put it in my first book, and the response was so great that I put it in the bridge building book because, so many parents have said, wow, that really helped me not take it personal when my son or daughter didn't want a hug, or, I was just annoyed that they didn't want to sit and watch the movie with us, but it was a movie they didn't like, and now I understand that. And so that's where that letter came from. So he wrote the letter looking back at his childhood, at what he wished he could have communicated to his parents.
Well, it is such a powerful letter, and I hate to do this, but we are up to the end of the show, and I know I will put your information on my website, drkevinbhall.com, and your email, and I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. It was truly eye-opening, and everybody should go by Bridge Building, even if you don't have a special needs child. It is just so eye-opening, and next time you're in the grocery store and you see a child starting to act out, you know what, maybe you'll understand just a little better. So, Dr. Kevin, thank you so much. Enjoy your beautiful Florida weather.
Oh, and thank you, Blythe.
I will talk to you again. You take care.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow, what a show. I really learned so much, and I hope you did too. Next week, my guest will be Krista Terry. She is the co-founder of Mom Meet Mom. It's a great way to find moms in your area just like you, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, a working mom. I can't wait to talk to Krista all about Mom Meet Mom because it's an incredible way, again, it's support. And it's so important to have support of other moms, other families. So she'll be on the show next week. If you'd like to be my guest on Baby and Toddler Instructions, contact me through www.babyinstructions.com. Love having guests on the show. Remember to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I update everything, and babyinstructions.com. And I'm available if you need a consult appointment at 480-510-1453 is my office. If you need help. So I'd like to leave you with these brilliant little gems from Alan Klein's book, The Art of Living Joyfully. You don't have to sit on top of a mountain to discover what's right for you. You always know in your heart what you need to do, by Liz Dolan. And John Oliver Hobbs, I love this. Why should we refuse the happiness this hour gives us? Because some other hour may take it away. So I know that I'm happy to have my show. Thank you so much for listening every week. My guests provide invaluable information, and thank you to all of them. So tune in next time. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.